Hello, my name is Tatiana Webb, and this is Off the Record, brought to you by Nana Music Productions. Today we have this lovely lady in the studio with us today. This is Madeline Mae. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. She is a 90s country artist, for those who don't know Miss Madeline Mae. And she is from the Wetumpka area, so we're in Montgomery, but that's not too far away from us. And we have been, what is it? We've been knowing each other for some years.
Yeah, probably about 10 now.
Oh, don't say that. But yeah, because I think we met at if listeners, if you remember, Miss Jilla Webb, she was my vocal coach back when I was 14. Now, we didn't know each other at that time, but we did meet at a what she would do is vocal studio, so or a showcase. So for her vocal students, she would do a showcase and let us all perform and such. And this one was at like an Irish bread pub kind of spot. So we got to hear each other, Madeline and myself, perform, and we kind of connected. And through social media, we kept up with each other to the point where I ended up hosting a songwriters round in Eclectic, Alabama. And funny enough, another friend of ours, Wyatt Edmondson, was our host. So if you listen to the episode before this, that was him as well. But I just wanted to bring Madeline on the show because last night we had a pretty fun event over at Little Donkey, and she did a fantastic job
Mm.
performing for the people for the Montgomery Airport. So I just wanted to give her a few applause for that, and just so happy to have you on the show today. But before we get into some meat and potatoes of this discussion, I want to talk a little bit about your background and stuff in music because, we've known each other for a while, but I don't know your story. And you are an amazing storyteller, and especially through your songwriting and such. So I want you to tell people a little bit about how you got involved in music, what inspired you, and specifically why 90s country, because that's very specific when it comes down to a genre. So I'll let you tell your story, and I'm just gonna sit down and enjoy myself.
So I grew up singing, of course. My dad had a guitar that I would, when I was a wee little baby, I could not actually play the guitar, but I would mess around with the guitar. And I just grew up surrounded by music in terms of my mom singing karaoke with me and, my dad messing around on the guitar a little bit. And we really listened to 90s country music, Jody Messina, Kenny Chesney. Like, that's who really influenced me to get into the country music genre. And it's just such a wide variety of music in country music anymore that it's great to just have the description before country so like, the style that it is, and so I really grew up on 90s country, so that's what influenced my sound today, specifically Jody Messina, love her. But I grew up singing karaoke, and then I Taylor Swift, of course, blew up huge when I was a kid, and she played guitar, and so I was like, "I wanna learn guitar, I wanna learn guitar," and I was 9 years old, and my mom was like, "First, let's get you into piano lessons so you know music theory." And so I took piano lessons from 9 to 10, and I just really didn't click with the piano very much. And I hadn't learned guitar. So 10 to 11, didn't learn guitar, but I still loved music. I posted Nashville signs all over the house, literally handwritten Nashville, and they're all over the house and they're still up today. And I turned 11. My dad finally taught me three chords. So he taught me G, C, and D, of course. And then I just taught myself the rest. The internet, you can learn a lot of stuff. So I learned how to play the guitar that way. And then I think I was probably about 12 when I first started vocal lessons. And I started with somebody in Birmingham first and really started pursuing music and performing. And then I switched to Jilla Webb when I was just before I turned 13, I think, or maybe just before I turned 12. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I started performing with her and really just thriving, loving it so much, loving being on the stage and singing for people and learning new songs. And this whole time I'd been writing songs, but once I started with Jilla, and I was 12 or 13, that's when my songs actually started. The songs that I wrote are actual songs by that point in time. Before that, they were kind of just you threw words together and called it a song.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so then 12 to 13, I really was like, I love songwriting. I'm doing it right, and I started playing those songs live for people, and they had mama jams at the smokehouse barbecue. And when I was like 13 and 14 and 15 and 16, I was there every week and I was writing a new song to play for them every single week that they'd have it on Thursday night. And that just influenced my music so much and my songwriting so much. Those mama jams were phenomenal, if I can speak today. Uh, and that's what really threw me into songwriting hardcore professionally. This is like what I want to do and performing and just having a place to express myself. Those were great. And then my sights have always been set on Nashville, always. And so that's always been the goal. And so I'm still to this day performing and writing songs and progressing in that area. And you've been great. You've helped. And of course, I love writers rounds. And so those are, getting to do those. My first writer rounds were actually the ones here in Montgomery or in Eclectic that I did with you. That was my first experience at a writer's round.
By the way.
Thank you. I had never done an actual writer's round before, and I got to do that. And now I get to do them up in Nashville. So to see that progression has been, it's awesome.
I'm telling you, like, that little old me just got stuck in my head that night. And I mean, it's such a good song too. So I was just like, "Oh, she's amazing. Oh my goodness. Of course we have to get her on this." So yeah, no, you were amazing that day and we are planning on doing our songwriter rounds again. So we will be having you probably as a hostess this next time. And so that way you can kind of share your expertise on the stage and, well, maybe welcome and usher in some new songwriters on the stage as well. So, but you kept hinting at a city that you kept being that you were interested in since you were, as you said, a wee little child. But you are from Wetumpka and now you are moving up to Nashville.
I
So how did that happen? I mean, of course it was a dream and how you're saying, but how did that come about?
So I've always wanted to be in Nashville.
Mhm.
Literally since I was a child, that has been where my sights have been set, is Nashville. Uh, I was, of course, in school until I was 18, and unfortunately, when I was 18, that's when COVID happened.
Mm.
Everything got shut down. I was not leaving Wetumpka. And so then any momentum, because that summer, the summer before I turned 18, I had Thursday, Friday, Saturday booked every single week of the summer. Like I was on fire, the momentum was there. And then, my mom was like, don't go to college, just go to Nashville, like go up to Nashville, that's where you need to be. And then bam, everything shut down.
Mm.
And so then I tried college. I did not like college. I dropped out of college. And the goal has always been to get back up to Nashville, but I got stuck in a rut of sort because when something's comfortable, it's easy.
Yeah.
And so it was comfortable being here doing the normal stuff, and it was easy. And so I just kind of let myself get stuck here. And last in 2024, Billy McDowell, he's from Prattville and he's a songwriter. And he's connected with Mama and everything. He has known me since I was 13 doing the Mama Jams. And he said that he would take me up to Nashville to learn about co-writing in Nashville and see how that stuff works. And so he took me up there May of 2024, and since then, it's just been, trip after trip up there. He introduced me to people. He showed me NSAI, which is a Nashville Songwriters Association International, where you get to connect with people and publishers. And so that really helped me get my foot in the door in Nashville, which is what I was looking for to feel comfortable enough to move up there. And so he really helped me there. And then I just started co-writing with a bunch of people in Nashville. And up until then, I had only really written solo. And so I was starting to co-write with people in Nashville. And then what really put the final nail in the coffin was June this past year, June 2025. I went to a writer's workshop in Nashville. It was Barba Coyd. She hosts open mic night at the Bluebird. She she does a songwriter's workshop. I went to it. I met people. I met a very dear friend of mine. Her name's Michelle Lee. She's a songwriter in Nashville as well, and we just connected. We wrote a song out of Alabama, which is about leaving Alabama, and ever since then, we've written several songs together. And she's just like, girl, you have to get up here. You need to be up here. And now that I have friends and co-writers up there, it's just like, I've got to go. It's just like I feel it. I'm like, I got to be up there. I got to be up there now. And so it kind of happened in February where it went from, yeah, I need to be in Nashville to I have to be up there now, like as soon as possible. And so that's where I'm going to go next month. I'm going to be in Nashville.
Well, I wish you all the best as you go up there, but I understand because for those who don't know, Madeline is one of our booking artists, so we book her a lot, and so as far as community events and stuff like that. So just because you're in Nashville doesn't mean that we're not going to be booking you for some gigs down here, and you get to come back to Sweet Home Alabama every once in a while to come say hello. So I'm looking forward to seeing your journey up in Nashville and yes, the songwriters like that community up there is just so robust, and you're gonna have such a good time up there. I have some good friends up there already that have done a few things also within NSAI, and just it's a cool space. I was up there for my internship with RCA Inspiration, so Sony's gospel label, and I was there for a season, and it's a different culture and vibe just in the music scene up there. So you're just gonna fit right in, and it's just you're gonna. I'm so excited for you. That's why I'm kind of studying it
It,
now.
it's so inspirational. Like I just get so inspired when I'm up there and like, yeah, the first time I was up there in 2024
Mhm.
in the hotel room, I from we went up there Monday and came back on Wednesday, and I'd written 8 songs in those 3 days, and only 3 of those were co-writes. The rest were solo writes, but it was just from so much inspiration, and it's just infectious, like, all this songwriting and all the dreamers and it just lights a fire under you, you know? And so it's just so great. I love the vibe up there.
Now, you mentioned, or I mentioned, and then you affirmed. So you are a 90s country artist and you're doing all of these songwriting and all these things. So, I mean, are you writing 90s country songs or are you writing all genres? Like, what type of music can we be expecting from some of your songs that you're writing with your co-writers and different projects?
It definitely depends on the co-writer. So I've been in writing for over 10 years now, so I'm very versatile. If I'm writing with someone who's a little more pop country, the song's gonna be a little more pop country of a vibe. And that might not be a song that I wanna record, that might be a song that I wanna pitch to somebody or they wanna pitch or record. And then, I have another co-writer up in Nashville who is, like, hardcore, like, 70s old school kind of vibe. And so when we write songs together, they take that more old school vibe. Uh, and so it really depends. If I write solo, usually the 90s to early 2000s is what I try to hit. That's just like what I grew up on and what I really love. And if I'm going to record it, that's what I'd like it to sound like and the vibe I like it to have. But if I'm just writing a song, sometimes I may write something that I'm like, "Oh, that's totally a more modern country song," which is totally, like, super cool. I'll pitch that to somebody and let somebody, take that one. But it's just all over the board. I'm not really a stickler with my genre other than stuff that I wanna record is more older, but with the modern vibe still.
I will say, you specifying though 90s country. So I'm getting to a point where like with it's very interesting to think about all the genres and just thinking about how each decade how it evolves.
Yeah.
And yes, people like to use like covers and different what are they called? Samples and things like that from songs to be able to make their newer music sound familiar, and that's a great thing to do, but to take a genre style and dissect it from a decade or two that resonate with you the best, and be able to try to create new versions of it but still keep that core. I mean, that's pretty cool to be able to take songwriting in a different way that way. So, because a lot of people just want to create their new sound, or it's more than just it's very inspired by. So, I'm very excited about that. Speaking of, you mentioned earlier before we started recording that you have a very interesting project coming up in June. So, do you want to talk
It
about your
was
single coming out?
That was the previous June, the
Oh,
one I released last year.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to release another song this year, so that may be in the works
Oh,
once I get to Nashville with Keegan, our boy Keegan.
yes.
Yeah, the previous one I released, I recorded with Keegan as well.
Okay.
Um, and so I just wanted to go ahead and, like, push that one a little more, before we start working on another song.
Now, can we
Um,
talk about that one? Because we can promote that one right now on the line.
I'm not sure which song it's gonna be. I know we have a couple of options. One of my favorite songs that I've written is called "By the Time Morning Comes Around."
Mm.
A completely different vibe to the last song I released. It's a little more like get you in the heart song, and I think that that might be one that I'm interested in recording. It's a ballad. It's just like it's hits you in the heart, and everyone loves how vulnerable the song is, and I love it. And it was actually inspired by a song called Like a Cowboy
Mhm.
by Randy Houser. Um, and so it's kind of like the other perspective, the woman's perspective, sort of. Uh, but I'm thinking about possibly recording that one next. I have a couple others that people are like, "You need to record that one. You need to record that one." And so I've been thinking about it, and just which, is the next step to take. Because my previous one was Riches from Rags.
Yep.
I released that in June.
Mhm.
And it's very upbeat. It's about a woman, who is from a town who always looked down on her and never thought she'd make it anywhere, and she was dreaming big, she was dreaming for New York and all this stuff, and, uh, it just talks about her life like that, and so it's very happy and upbeat, and it's called Riches from Rags, and so by the time morning comes around will be a completely different vibe if I decide to go with that one. That's definitely one that's on the list, I think.
Well, I look forward to hearing that, and I'm sure our listeners are looking forward to when you record that. I will say, with being a solo artist as well, can you talk a little bit about your recording process? And I mean, just like how it is as a songwriter, and your point of view of how it is on the recording side of things when you're working with music that you've written or co-writers that you're working with, when you get to the studio.
Yeah, so I've been in the studio a couple times, and so if you're near the studio, you may go and like actually sit with your band and they play and stuff like that. With Keegan, and when I recorded that, he's up in Nashville area, and so I kind of sprung it on him. Changed the song last minute to because I had just written "Riches from Rags," and I was like, actually, I wanna do this song, and he was like, "It's all, it's your idea, like, whatever you wanna do, your songs, your recording." And so, we had a Zoom meeting, and I sent him the audio and the lyrics, just a scratch track, simple voice memo recording, from the iPhone,
Mhm.
and he was able to take it, and he was like, "I'll start putting tracks down for it." And so, he way better guitarist than I am. He sent me, his first track, which was just acoustic, and, he did a lot great guitarist, and so it sounded phenomenal just with the guitar track, and then we started layering everything else on it, and he would send it back to me because 'cause I'm not in Nashville, so he'd send every time he'd put something else down, the bass guitar, the electric guitar, drums, whatever, he'd, send it back and get my approval, and then we moved on to the next step. And so once it came time to do vocals, I actually went into his studio, up in Tennessee,
Mhm.
and he's great. He's great. We recorded for like it felt like 4 hours. I'm not 100% sure that it was. I think it might have been. So what we did was we went through the whole track several times,
Mhm.
like 3 times. We'd sung from the beginning of it to the end 3 times, and then he would punch each line
Mhm.
pretty much. And so we went back and every line we did like 3 or more times, just to get everything perfect. And he's so good about making suggestions. And they're really good suggestions too. And so
Producer.
he'll be like he'll be like, go up on this note, go down on this note. Can you go this high? Can you do this? How about you go ooh here? How about you go, throw in a yeah, you know? And so we did a lot of that, and at the end of that track, actually, you'll hear where he's like, "We should do, like, a little talking bit to come out of it," and I do a little talking bit, and then you hear us laugh at the my mom was in the studio with us, and you just hear us laugh at the very end of it because he had me do, like, this really faint talking at the end, and we were just like, "Oh my gosh." And so it was really awesome, and then he did background vocals for me. He sent it back to me, said, did the mix, said, "Is everything okay?" I was like, "The oohs were really loud. Can we turn that down?" And you wanna make sure you listen to it on several different devices because every speaker, it's gonna sound differently. And so when you would listen to it through, like, headphones, it would sound okay, but, like, if you listen to it through your phone speaker, the oohs were drowning everything else out. And so we went back and forth like that a couple of times until we got it level, and then he sent it off to be mastered, and then it came back, and I sat on it a little bit because I was like, "I need to, like, you know, do this and do this and do this to promote it," so I sat on it for a little bit, and then I finally was able to release it in June,
Yeah.
um, onto all platforms, and so that was a great experience.
I remember being on the unofficial committee to choose the picture that you wanted to use for it. So I was like, okay, I appreciate that.
Yep, I was asking, I was like, I don't know which one, this one or this one, I don't know."
And you look lovely, but I think you mentioned something that what was it? That is very interesting about the mixing process where yeah, mixing in a studio in a solid studio, that's fine, but it is very important to shop it in other places and other types of listening
Hard.
platforms, quote unquote, because it is different. And you have to, as a commercial writer, and more so to say as you're recording, you have to consider what your listener is listening on
Yep,
because that could be a vibe where it's like, "Yep, I'm loving it," or as a, I didn't feel it."
yep.
So, that is important for
Your
whoever.
phone speaker,
Yeah,
your car speaker, your headphones,
different.
those are, like, the major ones, and they sounded completely different the first time he sent it to me, and that's why we had to, workshop it a little bit, because they all just sound different, so that's, like, one of my biggest advice. It's just my big advice for recording in a studio, other than getting someone that you know and trust, is to also listen to the mix on every speaker that you have. I think we even did a Bluetooth speaker and turned it up and was like, "Okay, is this good? Is this not good?" Because you never know.
Yeah. I love how well, you kinda said it for me, but I was about to ask because we're getting close on time, and I was like, "Okay, well, what advice do you give to an artist who or a songwriter who is getting in the game and, trying to get started and, you've been doing this for 10 plus years and it's just, you and the funny thing is you're still young in the industry, which just means that you're just going to continue to grow and just be amazing. And I'm just so honored and humble to be able to witness your journey and be able to, just be here for the ride and also support you and see how we can work together on a few things. So, before we close out, do you have any final advice for our listeners and especially for the ones that are, trying to become the next songwriter, next singer, and trying to, get their feet wet in the world?
Yeah, I think it's, don't let fear hold you back. Now that's like a little cliche, but you have to be able to take that next step even if you're scared. And so whether that next step is getting a vocal coach or performing on this stage, performing on that open mic, learning guitar, moving up to Nashville when it feels like you're called, going to Nashville just to perform, getting up on those stages and performing. It's just don't be too afraid to do something. Now, everyone's always a little nervous. Like, even after 10 plus years, if I try something new, I'm going to get nervous. If I go onto a new stage that I haven't been on, I'm going to get nervous. But you can't let it hold you back because then you're never going to advance
Yep.
or you're gonna advance slower than if you just took that leap. And so I just don't let the fear that you have of doing it keep you from doing it.
Yep.
Always push through it and go ahead and know that if you mess up or if it doesn't sound the best or if you find out you're not great at guitar and you want to move to piano or whatever, that's okay. We're all learning. We're all doing new things. We're all trying. We're all practicing and we're no one's gonna be perfect at anything the first time they do it. It's experience, and everyone needs some experience, and it's like me moving to Nashville, I should have done it earlier, but I got comfortable, and when you get comfortable, you just let things slip, and it's just there's always a little bit of nervousness there, and you just have to push through it and keep progressing.
Yeah. No, one thing that I so one thing that I say to any person that is about to go on stage, especially when they're really nervous, is you want to be nervous. It,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with being nervous. Being nervous before anything means that you care about what you're about to do. If you're not nervous before what you're doing, then that means you don't have that level of care to want to do well. And that's more telling on you as a person and where you're at. So, just a little food for thought on that. But the other thing that I wanted to say is part of your advice too. I have known you for however many years, I don't know, but we're just going to say however many years. And in all of those years, I have continuously admired your boldness and your willingness to step out and be that girl and be the woman of, here is me. I am here. This is who I am and take it or leave it. But it's in a very confident and, very stage presence kind of being. And you also have always been very sweet and very kind as well, and so it's just like to watch you again, as I said for like the third time, I am so, so happy to watch your journey, and I'm so thankful that you had some time tonight to be able to talk on the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing and listening to some new singles from you. So if people want to hear what you currently have and support you, where can they find you and support you?
So I have a website that's www.madelinemaymusic.com, which will bring you to all of my social medias and my song, Riches from Rags, that you can find on every streaming platform. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, everything's under Madeline Mae Music. Super easy. And all my songs should be on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, all of the
All the
platforms.
streaming.
Theoretically, it should be everywhere.
Sounds good. So, if you listener are interested in hearing Madeline Mae's music, you know where to find her now and where to support her on her website. But thank you so much for being on the show. I'm again just so thankful that you had some time.
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. If you like what you heard today, you can follow the podcast at off the record under oh, no Nana Music underscore off the record. You can follow the company at Nana Music Productions, or you can follow me at web.Tatiana M. And just remember, this podcast was off the record.